Hi, stellar sixth grade students. This is a video on how to determine the structure specifically in your essay. Hi, stellar sixth grade students. This video is about how to determine the structure within your research papers, and specifically the two solutions paragraphs that you need to include in the body of your essay. So this is a quick reminder about how the essay is structured. You've got an introduction and a conclusion paragraph sandwiching the meat of your essay, your body paragraphs. And the first of those body paragraphs is just about the problem, but then you have two body paragraphs that you get to dedicate to solutions. So there's lots of ways to decide how to break up these two paragraphs with your information and break that information into two paragraphs worth. Okay, so here's a few examples of what you could do. To break the solution into two parts, two body paragraphs, your option one and option two. Okay, so your first option would be to explain first what is the solution, okay, by explaining if it's a law or a policy or maybe a new form of technology that's going to help solve this problem. And then the second part would be to explain how does it help that how does it solve the problem, the impact that it has. Maybe it's an environmental impact or it's an educational impact. I don't know, depending on your topic. Okay. And the other way of doing this is to just break it into the impact. Now, of course, you're going to have to explain the solution and what it is a little bit. Of course, you have to explain what the solution is, but you can focus this, if you break it up this way, you can really focus more on the impact. So if you have a lot of information about the impact and it has perhaps multiple impacts, you could break that into two parts. This might actually be a couple of impacts here and in the first paragraph and a couple of impacts here in the second paragraph. And I'll show you what I mean with my own articles and my own information here. So remember that I am describing the problem of poverty amongst children in Mexico. And then this program Progressa is going to be my solution. That there's a new social program, not very new actually. This article was written in 2001. But I'll describe, this article mainly describes what the program is and how it works, how the Assistance for Families works, and it first goes into explaining that it's a program that transfers income to poor families in rural areas in exchange for sending their children to school. And it provides things like scholarships, healthcare, medical attention, health and hygiene, food supplements. It really helps with education and health the most, and that will ultimately break the cycle of poverty. I've also got this other article, and when I notice how it's organized, I see that there's general impacts on poverty, then it discusses impacts on education, then it continues to discuss impacts on healthcare, nutrition, okay, general health, and it even goes into the impacts on the household, so more long-term impacts for families. Okay, so I've got a whole article about the impacts. This is really focused on what impact does the program have. And this article is mostly focused on just how does the program work and what is the program. Okay, so there's a few ways that I can break my information up. Once I see what I have, I've got information about what it is, and I've got information about how it helps, health-wise, education-wise, poverty-wise, right? Or I could break it up like this. So here's my two options. Okay, the solution, the Progressive program. I can try this. I can explain how Progressive works. Who does it serve? How does it serve? Or what does it do to serve those families? And then I can just explain the impact that it has with facts and statistics. I can talk about how poverty is decreasing, education is increasing for families, and health is getting better. So I can go explain how it works and then prove using facts and statistics that it really does. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different ways it impacts, so if I wanted to just break it into impact one and impact two, I could do that. I could say, all right, I'm just going to focus on the impacts it has mostly, and maybe have a paragraph about how the the education has increased because of this program, and a different paragraph about health and how health has increased because of this program. Do you see the difference between this option and this option? This is more focused on impacts, whereas here I've got just maybe one paragraph. This second paragraph would be focused on impacts. So I'd have to really, I'd reduce, I wouldn't have as many facts and statistics if I chose this option one. I would really squeeze that information into one paragraph only. So it depends. If you have a lot of information about your program and you want to just spend a paragraph explaining what your program or your policy or the law is first, then I would suggest option one, explaining what it is. Okay? So here's what I would do next. I've decided, okay, I want to break, I'm actually going to choose option one. So here's what I would do next. Setting up note pages. Okay, I have to have 2 sets of note pages. So this is my note page 1 for solutions, part 1, but I also need a solutions part 2 for my 2 paragraphs. So first I'm going to take notes on who the program serves and what maybe the program does or how it works and functions. So that's note page 1. Note page 2 for solutions, part 2 or paragraph 2 would be the impact that it has. And remember, I told you about the different categories in this article. It discusses not just the impact on poverty, but it specifically discusses the impact on education, and it discusses the impact on health, nutrition, healthcare, and families. So what I might do actually for this is break this into sections. So I might actually think about this in three ways, like the general impact on poverty. How does it decrease poverty? I might think about this as how does it increase education? And how does it increase or help health and nutrition? And the last, there was a section on households. How are households affected? The impact on that. So I've got like some subsections here for how it helps. Now this is only one paragraph, so I'm going to have to think about maybe if there's not a lot of information on households or it's not very good information, I might actually just delete this and focus on poverty, education, and health, because that's a lot of information for a paragraph. So again, just a reminder, you've got to choose how to do this. You're deciding how to structure your essay, and you need 2 pages of notes for solutions. Okay, and I've decided that my first paragraph of note, or I'm sorry, my first page of notes or my first body paragraph about solutions will be focused on what that solution is, just simply describing. For me, it's a program. I would just describe it first, and then I'd have a second body paragraph that just explains the impact of that program. Okay, so you've got a couple of options, but remember, my expectation for these essays is that you have 2 paragraphs on solutions. So really strategically, before you start taking notes, thinking about how you're going to break up your notes into 2 different paragraphs worth of information is going to be very, oopsies, that's not very good. It's going to be very important. So I hope this video was helpful. The next video will actually specifically tell you about how to note take for solutions, these 2 paragraphs. All right, I hope it goes smoothly. Good luck.